Hi there, Glocal citizens. Welcome back to the podcast that inspires a borderless mindset around manifesting a new world. I am your host, Florence Adu, coming to you live and in living color from Accra. It's been an interesting weather week. You know, they say people talk about the weather as a way to kind of chat things up, but I love to report on it because it's so interesting that, and I think this kind of dovetails into my conversation with my desk up today a little bit, because now we're hearing that we're in a raining season. And in all the years that I've lived in Ghana, I've never in April experienced raining season. It's usually the hottest time of the year. It's usually like boiling. You know, maybe there might be rain somewhere, you know, when it gets too hot. But in terms of it being described as we're now in raining season and looking at the weather report, it actually does look that way. It's just baffling. And I think it just really says a lot about climate change, but it impacts so much of who we are and how we live. And so on that note, I will introduce my guest and then we can talk more and you'll get a little bit of context of how this is really impacting the ways that we live today. So my guest is an entrepreneur with a passion for social impact. He is leveraging technology to build innovative business models and platforms to serve the next 1 billion people in Africa's burgeoning digital economy. He is the founder and CEO of Pricepally, a sharing economy e-commerce platform enabling people to shop for food and daily essentials together so they can leverage their collective bargaining power by buying in bulk. He has built 4 revenue-generating businesses from the ground up, including passjam.com.ng, which is an exam prep platform, and Lucy.ng, a trusted platform supplying B2C and B2B branded merchandise. Lucy has sold over 1 million products with over $1 million USD in sales. And I think we are in for a treat. Luther Lawoyin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Florence, for having me. This is fantastic, if I could put it that way. Thanks for the bio. You read it out very well. I feel proud of myself.
Right? Exactly. You should be. Kudos to you. So let's get started. Let's jump right in.
Yeah.
So tell us more. Where are you from? Where are you local? And what is your craft?
Okay. I'm from Nigeria. I grew up in the city of Ibadan. I was born in a town called Ogbomoso, which is in Oyo State. So Nigeria is split in different states. And this part of Nigeria I'm from is called the Yoruba race. I was born in Ogbomoso, grew up in Ibadan, then moved on to Lagos, where I'm currently. My craft, it's all entrepreneurial. I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid. My mom gave me a lot of entrepreneurial influence. The fact that at about the age of 6, I would worked with her in our confectionery business. She used to bake cakes and stuff like that. So I was in charge of, the petty things, like get the eggs, get the flour, stuff like that. Learn through all the process of manufacturing, then supplying and all of that. So that kind of gave me like a background to just create stuff and sell and make money. I'm also a creative. Like I used to draw comics in my primary school. I used to help my classmates draw their assignments and get paid or, get some favor for that and all of that. So in terms of my craft or ability, I think that's where my passion is. That's where I do best, looking at a problem, finding a solution to the problem, and making that problem work for as many people as possible, and making a profit of it if it gives me the opportunity to. But overall, I just love solving problems for myself and wherever I'm in the community and all of that I find myself. I'm always, glued to doing that, like getting something done, basically. I hope that answers well.
I love that. And, it's, I think it's a way of life for a lot of us Africans is to, we have something that we need to figure out. And so that is definitely a way of life. So when you say that you're local in Nigeria, in Lagos, where exactly? Because we like to tell a little bit more about exactly, where in the town. And I think that dovetails with the why, the where. So how did you come to be living, working, and playing where you live?
Okay. I've lived most of my adult life in Lagos, in many parts of Lagos. Currently, I'm in the part called Maryland. So Maryland is on the mainland of Lagos. Before now, I used to stay on the island of Lagos, which is Lekki, Lekki area.
Mhm.
But since my friends and I kicked off Pricepally, I've had to move to the mainland, generally because the food system, the major food system nodes, or, the supply channels are on the mainland. So, being there in the thick of the action makes for more clarity and for more operational, excellence, basically. So that was me. That made me move
Yeah.
to the mainland, and so I'm currently in a city in the part of Lagos called Maryland. It's also locally known as Mende. So that's where I'm at now. It's very close to where I operate. It's very close to our warehouse and our distribution center on the mainland. So that's why I'm here, and that's where I stay.
Okay. Okay. So that's good segue into Price Pally.
Yeah.
So this is your latest entrepreneurial. I like to call people like yourself serial entrepreneurs. So
Mm.
this is the latest in the series.
Yeah.
So tell us more about the origins and how you came to this
Okay.
recent project. Mhm.
Yeah, so it started in 2019. I got married in 2018, and my wife would always like take record of our expenses and stuff like that. So monthly, she'll make it into graphs or like a chart and all of that. So we noticed that, food it wasn't following any pattern, and it used to like always just jump. It was always higher than every other thing. Then, that got me curious. It was the first time I was, having to buy food myself or do stuff, when it comes to food, basically, because I was either staying with my parents or my brother or my sister at some point or the other. I never had to worry about food. But when it got
Mhm.
to me and I was experiencing it, I was wondering, why do we have to like pay like 30% more than we did last month, which was just a few weeks back. So that got me curious. Started looking into it. I did quite some research, found out that it was largely an African problem, like a third world problem, if you can put it that way. So you have,
Mhm.
Nigeria, for instance, we have the highest income to food ratio in the world. So Nigerians spend more on food than any other country in the world, which, was just amazing to find out. Typically, a middle income family here spends about 60, probably now up to 70%, because there's been a lot of pricing,
Inflation, yeah.
inflation and all of
Mhm.
that. So it was just very amazing to me that we're spending more on food than any other thing. So think of a family who you have kids, there's education there, there's security, there's housing, there's clothing, and all of those things, no matter what you earn, you have to like spend 60% of what you have, what you earn on food alone. So that was interesting to me to see, okay, what exactly was the problem here and how do we solve it for ourselves? So I did more research, like on ground research. We went to these major markets, looked at the food system served in Lagos. There were some obvious reasons why the problem persisted, and there were other reasons that just came through to us after we spent some time looking into that. So, majorly, the food system served in Lagos and many other African cities it's very cumbersome and it's very inefficient. Like there are many middlemen from the farmer to the consumer. There are several layers of, middlemen that many times don't add value to what the consumer gets at the end of the day, and the consumer has to pay more. And the farmer, on the other hand, as well, don't earn as much as they should when it comes to, the work that they put in. So solving it for ourselves was the first thing we looked at was how do we like cut out, all the extra that we have to pay for, given the fact that we were staying on the island then. So in Lagos, for example, the farther you are from the main markets that serve like the wholesale markets where these food items come from, the more you pay. So for someone who's staying in Lekki compared to someone who's staying where I stay now, you're probably going to pay 15% more than what I pay where I'm at. Looking at the retail, if you're comparing retail markets to each other. So we did first go to the major market. My wife, my friends, and I went to the major market and looked out for the prices of their, bulk items, and we saw compared to what we were getting where we were, we saw the difference. So we started buying for ourselves and splitting it. Because those markets you have the major wholesalers there, so it's hard to get retail and all of that. So we started buying, for ourselves and splitting it. And a couple of months after that, we saw the difference. Like you could literally tell that we're saving money and we're getting more value for money.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
the next thing was how do we get more people to know about this or to take advantage of this? So we had a WhatsApp group putting things together. Then I reached out to a friend who we had done something way back about the idea of enabling people to be able to buy bulk from these wholesalers and for them to be able to split. Like if you don't need the whole, basket of tomatoes, you could get a quarter, you could get a tenth of it. So we built like, the first version of the website and the app, and we launched it November 2019, tested it for a couple of months. Then 2020, it came into full effect, and COVID came around the time too. So COVID also accelerated, the use of the app and all of that. People saw the value, and we've been, pushing it up since then. So that's how we started. But, there are very many other parts to it of how we got here and what we are trying to do and all of that. So, what we're trying to do at the end of the day is just create a smarter food system, because what you have now is, there's so many silly things going on there that a simple process would improve. So that's what we are trying to do across the cities in Africa, starting with Lagos, moving to other cities in Nigeria before we think of, moving out to other countries. So we look at the food system in the city, see where the blocks are, and plug in our solution and take it on from there. So that's it basically. Yeah.
So a few things that you said. One is middlemen, right?
Yeah.
We have a culture of middlemen all across the board,
Yeah.
and so in terms of how for this to take hold, you're displacing a lot of jobs as those middlemen. Have you, or you will be eventually, has that been a minor pushback, or is that something that you're just whatever, you're not really, or is there an opportunity to redeploy them in a different, more value add role?
Exactly. So that's what we are looking at. It's not exactly to displace them. It's to look out for the people who are actually adding value and being able to make them work smarter. So for instance, you have a farmer in the rural area who has produce, but does not have adequate information on who to sell to, what the prices are, how they, make their own value out of it. And you have a middleman who has the demand, like who is in the market to sell, but doesn't know where these guys, where to get, the farmer produce from. So the first line of problem there is information. So when you solve that problem of information, how does, two of them, how do they get value for what they do? The farmer has to be able to get something reasonable, while the middleman who takes it from the farmer to sell it to the consumers also has to make their value. Get their own value out of it. So for someone like that, the problem is just information and arranging that. Bringing that arrangement in so that can go smoothly. But you also have a situation where a middleman is the culture here. So part of what we are trying to change is the culture when it comes to off takers. Basically, you have some of them who have the money. They look out for farmers who have produce, beats them to the last of get the lowest possible price ever, because the farmer doesn't have, much choice, and rip the farmer off. Then they bring it, take it to the next level of middlemen. So some of them just pick from a farmer and move it to the next person, who is going to take it to the next person, and who's going to take it to another person before it gets to the consumer. So in that chain where you have somebody who is just taking advantage of a farmer and, moving the item to the next stage and making a huge profit off it, it's not exactly serving the system well. So yeah, if you can find the real middleman who would buy and resell almost immediately and not have to go like 3-4 chains just to make a quick buck, that's more value to the consumer at the end of the day, because he's not going to charge, he's not making things more expensive. He's directly getting it from the farmer to be able to sell. Yeah, so simplifying that and taking out people who take advantage of the system is like what Pricepally would eventually do. Because at the end of the day, we want first, the problem we identify that's a major problem is the first line of information, like people knowing, the farmer knowing where to sell to, the person who needs to buy from the farmer knowing where to buy from and when to buy. That's like a first line of information that's not there at all, and causes a lot of problems, causes waste on the farmer side, and causes,
right.
Yeah, so things like that, as simple as that, is what we want to solve first before you go into problems around storage and stuff like that. So for instance, a middleman who buys dry goods and stores them to resell. It's adding some value because at the time it's storing, it's incurring expenses and But for some who would stock them and just wait for when there's a shortage in the market or even cause a shortage because they buy a lot to stock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people like that are not serving the system well. People like that need to be taken out or need to change the way they operate. So if consumers have a better option and they see that consumers are moving to the better option, they will also be forced to work very well. I mean, to do the right thing. And we are open to work with as many people as possible, as long as the value you bring into this very fragile system is not taking advantage of the system. So basically, I'll stop there.
In terms of building the verticals that build the business, because I'm hearing that while it's it's an app, right? You're in the front, it's an app. You mentioned a
Mm-hmm.
few different things. So one is the farmers. So identifying the
Yeah,
farmers, like that was
yeah,
probably no small feat in terms of
no,
determining who you wanted to work with, like, and how they grow, right? Some
mm-hmm.
farmers have good practices. Do you have a standard for the
Exactly.
ones that you work with? So
Yeah.
tell us more about the relationship with the farmers and how you kind of start to project what it is that you want from them so that you can bring like certain baskets to the customer.
Yeah. So there are different ways we work with the farmers currently. The first one, which really works for us, is through partnerships. So we have organizations that
Mm.
already take care of, all the problems associated with the farmers, inputs and the way they should
Mm-hmm.
plant and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. We're working with
Mm-hmm.
3 of them now. So they already take care of that. And we are just like off takers who guarantee that we'll take
Yeah.
their produce and we are selling to the right people at the right price, stuff like that. So there's a first
Mm-hmm.
layer of that really works for us. But there are some that we've met with in person, through, we actually had, a form that farmers can fill on the platform and stuff. And we also have agents that give us reports on farmers they know and the produce that are available. So for those, we actually have agents who take care of them. And there's a first line. So for instance, when we started, we're just looking out for farmers with the produce and be able to like do business with them. But it was very, very unsustainable because of so many reasons. Apart from where farmers are located and how they operate, what they plant and stuff, there are all sorts of issues that didn't make that really work for us. So we had to like come up with like a standard of, that we need to work with them. The first was the size of land they are working on, because what we call smallholder
Mm-hmm.
farmers, in Africa are not exactly for all smallholder farmers, but they plant less than what, the international standard is. So first we want to look at, how much are they actually going to produce? How much can we buy from them over time before we exhaust them?
Mm-hmm.
If it's something, a handful and we can work with, we do work with them. Then we look at the produce, what they're planting. And another factor will be the level of education, because at some point, when we're working with some farmers, some of them don't necessarily regard agreements or contracts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So for the layer
Mm-hmm.
of farmers that we work with for now, you have to have some level of education and all of that. Over time, we'll be able to like trickle down to these other people. But for now, for the standard that we have, you have to have some level of education and be able to, respect agreements. So we have them like that, and we usually encourage them to work together in courts so that we
Mm-hmm.
have quite a substantial amount of produce to be able to take from them. So it's a mix of quite a number of things. We also look out for farmers who, some do have greenhouses or are technology inclined to be able to like make more produce for themselves from simple things like irrigation and stuff like that. So those things count. And when we see those, we embrace them and we work with them. Our model actually pays them more because we're able to like pay them better than typical off-takers will. And our processes are open and transparent. They know what the market price is. We let them know what we are buying and how much we are selling. And most of the time, it's a good deal for them. So in regards to how we get them, those are the 2 ways we do. But we prefer the first, which is working with government agencies or agencies that already take care of quite a number of things, and we just act as off-takers for them, and that works best for us. But we know that as we scale, we need to like improve and increase our reach to these farmers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm immediately thinking about Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the world, or because of my US context, and I guess otherwise, but I'm thinking of them and how they purchased Whole Foods Market.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea, and I'm sure beyond that, if we were to do some more digging, they probably own. I mean, they're now a product producer. Like Amazon has food products, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're white labeling in some cases, but
Yeah.
I would venture to say that they probably are now investing in the agriculture sector pretty heavily.
Yeah.
And so when you think about, when you talk about scaling and how you determine rolling out into bigger cities, is that something that you see potentially? Because this could be
Mm-hmm.
huge. I mean,
Yeah.
there's, Africa, the sky's the limit. There are
Yeah.
so many people. And as you say, you want a billion digital users.
Yeah.
How are you next seeing getting to that billion within this business model?
Yeah. So first, we are looking at we solve it per city. We look
Mm-hmm.
at the city. Look at the food system. We look at those feeding that system, which is the farmers. Usually they are outskirts of that city or even far away from that city. For instance, Lagos, 80%, 70% of what comes into Lagos comes in from the north of Nigeria. You know, especially
Okay.
when it comes to the seasonality and all of that. So we are looking at a city like Lagos, looking at Port Harcourt, looking at Abuja. We want to like solve for each city and see how we can connect each city when it comes to supply and those who supply them. So it's a two-way thing. You have to solve for the demand and also solve for the supply as well. In terms of how we want to
Mm-hmm.
scale this, it's a city model, and we're going to like get it across as many cities as possible in Africa, especially the ones who have the same similar problem of just very cumbersome supply chains. What I mean,
Mm-hmm.
once we
Mm-hmm.
are able to, for instance, in Lagos now, we have the best prices when it comes to tomatoes, peppers, onions, and stuff people used to make their soup, and that's because we've
Mm-hmm.
simplified that supply chain. Yeah, we've been able to first advantage is we get a lot of demand for those, and that demand we move it to the initial phase was working with wholesalers. So a wholesaler who brings in a truck of tomatoes has like 50 baskets to sell and is selling for say 10,000 a basket. We come to him and tell him, look, we want all your baskets, and we could take all this off you at once. So, but you need to give us some discount so that at that discount we pass on that discount to the consumers. But it even gets better when we're getting it from the farmer, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's deeper discount. So when you have advantages, especially on price, it's a big factor for consumers because price is it's a very price sensitive market. For as low as a 50 naira difference in prices will make consumers come to you because things are just really tough. So
Yeah.
yeah, we've been able to figure that out using those products I mentioned because we found out that's what a lot of people buy more, and so we see that
Mm-hmm.
once we're able to like solve for price and solve for convenience, then we can rapidly grow, and that's what we're experiencing now. Rapidly grow that. So at the end of the day, what really matters is supply because you can actually tweak demand in any way, form, or possible. You can, there are many ways to let people come to you to buy, but what you have to make sure is that supply is consistent, supply is, always there at the right price and at the best quality. So that's where, like you said, Amazon is, investing in a lot of that. I also know that Bill Gates too is buying a lot of land and, investing in agriculture. I know, these guys see
Yeah.
what the future is. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we also see that. And we need to solve for ourselves because Amazon is not wouldn't solve for Africa. All
Right.
these guys won't solve for
Right. Well,
Africa.
we're looking to you to be that Amazon.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we need to solve for ourselves. We need to. It's not like the systems don't work. It's just that we do many silly things that don't make sense. Tomatoes from up until now, and it's always been. I mean, people have identified this problem for a long time. So most of the tomatoes that are coming from the north to Lagos are usually packed in baskets in woven
Mm-hmm.
baskets, and it's guaranteed that you lose for that journey of almost a day, you lose
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
30% of that, and
Yep.
it's
Yep.
been that since. It's still that now. So
Mm.
it makes no sense. So we use crates to move items. except when the customers request for, woven baskets, because some actually do because they are very used to it. So,
Mm.
we save more money than the typical wholesaler in the market will do, because we just use, crates instead of baskets. So there are, things like that that
Mm-hmm.
can easily,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And there are many ways where infrastructure is also like the bane of the problem. Storage, for
Yeah,
instance,
exactly.
it's
Mm-hmm.
just ridiculous. If we had good storage systems, we would save a lot of food. Food wouldn't be expensive. For instance,
Mm-hmm.
you see a situation where when food is in season, the prices drop ridiculously. Like, there are some
Right.
times that when some food items are in season, the farmer literally gives you, like, you bought everything, but he still has enough supply and he just gives it out because there's nothing to do with it. Otherwise, it's going to get spoiled and all of that. So in
Mm-hmm.
that instance, that farmer could actually make more money if there's a way for him to store that food over a period of time. But,
Right.
electricity, all sorts of things are just like really critical.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have to
Yeah.
solve it where we are, and we have to like do the best we can and grow from there. So that's what we believe, and hopefully serve the billions of people who would appreciate this.
In your dealings and, on your everyday life, I want to ask you my Glocal speak question. And so
Okay.
we want to hear what you hear. So I ask you to share a word, a phrase, or a saying that is a meaningful part of your local experience and why or how you came to value it as Glocal speak.
Oh, okay, interesting. Um,
Mm-hmm.
oh, let me think about it. You mean slangs like we use here where I'm at that means something, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure there are a lot, but it's just hard for me to remember now. But the ones I remember, there's this saying in this part of Nigeria, like, people tell you, shine your eye. And
Uh-huh.
shine your
Uh-huh.
eye just means be alert. Don't let people, don't, if you're not alert, things can go horribly wrong. Like, people could swab you or take advantage of you. So, and that's
Oh,
literally like a Lagos phrase where everybody's at alert, because you don't want to like miss out or something, or you don't want to be the victim when it comes to maybe whatever it is. So shine your eye is like, get yourself alert. Another thing, well, when you say shine your eye, it follows with mafo. So mafo means don't break, literally. So
mm.
yeah, so it's like people telling you not give up, or don't lose heart, basically. Like, if something happens or you are considering something, and a friend just tells you, my fault. It's part of a song. There's this very weird guy called, I can't remember his name now, but it's kind of like a notorious guy. But that
Uh-huh.
song really really picked up for some time. So that's
Okay.
what
And
my fault means, and it's some sort of encouragement, like, don't give up.
oh, okay. I like that one. Mafo. Is that
Yeah.
how you say it?
It's math four, so the FO is four, like you're saying,
Four.
four, yeah, math four.
Yeah, Mapo. Okay, yeah, the
Yeah,
Yoruba way,
yeah, you're
not the
about
Ga
exactly.
way. Like
Yeah,
I would say, oh, like yeah, okay. So Mapo.
yeah.
Okay, okay, good. I like that. I like that Glocal speak. Wonderful. Don't give up. Don't give up. Okay, so let's turn to a little bit more about how you came into this whole digital space,
Mm,
and also I want to talk a little bit more because I know that you are part of a seed funding round, and you've done a bit in terms
mm,
of being seen and being supported by a lot of these organizations that are looking to identify the next big thing. So,
yeah.
tell us about your previous serial experiences and how that has placed you where you are now.
So my journey into this was just out of a lot of curiosity
Mm-hmm.
and excitement for what tech does. So since I found out about the internet, I've loved it, spent time there, chatting, making friends, looking for solutions around it. So I always knew that any solution I would build would be around, the internet. The first, if I remember clearly, was something called Green White Polls, and it was basically an online polling platform where people could give their opinions on different things and all of that. And it did quite well, but it was like too early for its time, and I couldn't monetize it, so I had to like
Right.
stop it. I went on to start up another company. There was a friend of mine whose wife used to make a lot of some delicacies using potatoes, sweet potato and Irish potato. So at that time, Twitter was like very new, and there were a lot of young people on Twitter back then. So I start myself. I mean, together with him and the wife, we started off Potato Lagos. So she would cook, and I would market it on Twitter and would deliver using bicycles and all of that. And it went pretty well. But my partner, we had some very fundamental differences, so I had to like leave. So from there, I went on to start Pass Jam, which was like a test prep site for
Uh-huh.
students preparing for an exam, a popular exam called Jam in Nigeria. So that went well. I mean, we grew that for about 2 years. Then I sold it to another rival company. Then I used the money to start off Lucy, and I was at Lucy for about 3, 4 years, and yeah, about 3, 4, or 5 years. Yeah, there came the issue of Pricepally, and what really got me to Pricepally was like it's quite a huge challenge, and it's something worth solving. So that's what made me come to there. So, but in my journey, I've always been fortunate to find people who would help in one way or the other, and I think Pricepally has been quite a significant one because we've been able to like meet with organizations who are very interested in what we are doing and who are supporting us. Quite a number of them. Through Price Valley, I was at
Yeah.
MIT. I was at Westerwelle in Germany. The solution has taken
Mhm.
me quite different places and met different people. But at the end of the day, we're trying to solve this problem, and hopefully we will in good time. Yeah, my journey has
Mhm.
been,
Mhm.
when you're actually solving problems, you'd always meet people who are interested or who could help or lend a hand and all of that. And that's been my experience. Yeah.
Right. In your role, are you more of the strategy person? Are you a programmer? What is your, I know you're the solutions person, but
Mm.
technically what exactly is your day-to-day like in terms of how you operate the
Yeah, so in
businesses?
terms of tech, I don't know anything about tech. I have a friend who who is a tech guy, but I most of the time just think of the idea, run it by people and try to like get the best out of it. So I'm more of the
Okay.
visionary person who sees what should be and try to like execute it. I find it quite easy to find solutions and just map it out. You know, yeah. So when you
Okay.
do that, then people come in at wherever they are able to like solve, or where their own strengths come in. So I think it's more of a person who moves from 0 to 1, who moves it from nothing to something. Then people can take it up from there. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, got it. Got it. Got it. And so, in terms of identifying talent, so a lot of it's partnerships, a lot of it's like-minded individuals. But as you're
Yeah.
operating, what are some of the potential challenges that you've experienced in terms of identifying and retaining staff and talent to help crystallize the vision?
So number one is identifying the talent. Then two is maintaining them, because talented people who know they are talented many times
Hmm.
can be impatient, and the attitude matters. So that's like, especially creatives, like have had problems with, because we have, for example, graphic designers who come up with, designs for social media and all of that. We've had to go through like three
Hmm.
or four until this last person just joined us and has been with us for a while. As much as you have talent, you also have to have that work ethic to be able to like match up, and also have
Yep.
that attitude to be able to work with team members. So, sometimes you find talent, you don't find that component of the good attitude, or you find talent, work ethic. I mean, talent, good attitude, but poor work ethic and all of that. So while I try to understand as much as possible because of the different challenges people go through, we also make sure to see that those things are not out of place, because once they are, then you have problems of working together. So it's more important to me that talent is important, but I think the work ethic and the attitude can be more important sometimes, because of what I've seen, what I've experienced so far. Another thing will be how you work, how you get people to work together, because people are different. They're in our workplace, we have people from different generations, and having them work together can
Mm-hmm.
be challenging. Yeah. We have Gen Zs, we have millennials, and we have the other ones. So you have to be able to manage those generations together, because they speak differently, they expect different outcomes. They, and there's also the culture of respect in this part of the world where the older generation expects the new generation to like respect them no matter what. And this new generation, would only respect you if they deem fit, or they don't even see what you see as respect. So we've had, there's all these human interactions that come to play, but you just have to like manage it and let people learn from each other and see how to work together. So all sorts of things. I wouldn't know where to start.
You bring up a really good point with the Gen Zs versus the millennials versus I'm sure you have some
Yeah.
X's in there somewhere, or at least your funders are
Yeah.
probably Xers. So that's an interesting dichotomy or trichotomy to try to navigate in terms of potentially, and that you mentioned the respect piece because it is very ingrained in our cultures here, and the idea of who is the senior then becomes even a question because everyone feels like they're at an equal playing field. So so what kind of professional development do you do or have you had to kind of engage in to solve for those internal operational smoothing systems?
Well, I won't be able to answer that correctly because we put that on HR. But where I come in many of the times is when there's a friction, because I'm the CEO. Yeah. So both parties tend to listen to me, and I, try to find like that middle ground for everyone to be able to work together. So, but I do know that. So, for instance, at Pricepally, we work with locals, like people who grew up in the markets where we operate, because they speak the language, they have deeper knowledge that you can't get in Harvard or anywhere. So, we work with people like that. So people like that coming through with and working together with a Gen Z who is operating, who is in charge of our digital marketing can be challenges sometimes. So I come in to solve problems like that. But where we try to upskill everybody is in their own departments. And, whatever their skill is, we have resources for them to be able to get better. And we do intentionally have meetings where we mix people up to be able to work together, to be able to interact and see things from their own perspective. So that helps, but it's not like a 100% thing. No matter what you do, there'll still be all these issues, and you just have to make sure you address them and let everybody be on the same page. And from there, you'll be amazed at what comes out after people just listen to each other and know, okay, this is how this person is, this is how I am, this is where I shouldn't, touch, this is, they respect their boundaries and all of that. Once that is done, people tend to work very well with themselves, no matter what the generation is. It's mostly how people understand themselves. And once you get through to that, it's almost a smooth scale. But initially, you have all sorts of, issues.
Yeah, friction. Yeah. I like that. I think that's a great segue into my mindset hack question. So, what is your favorite or an innovative mindset hack? And this is one that you know of, one that you practice, or one that you can imagine.
Yeah, so it happens almost every day when there's a problem to solve and all. I usually just take a walk. I take a walk, yeah, and I like the greenery, I like nature, yeah. But in Lagos where I am, it's quite hard to find such. So
I know.
I usually would just take a long walk.
That is my biggest complaint about your city is that there's not enough green.
Not enough that I would want to. There's green, right? But it's not close. Yeah, it's not close to what.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
I get the
you get the
walk-ins,
walk-in, so
and
that's
once I
good.
do, I clear my head out. Then solutions come. Then I rush back to write whatever I have in my mind, then execute it and see if it works. So that's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about all your business life and the solution solver. So we want to know a little bit more about you that's not at the work of it all. And so I like to ask if you are a reader, a watcher, or a listener, and to share some of your favorite reads or watches or listens.
Oh, okay. So I don't read as much as I used to, but I do observe now. So I think that has to do a lot with watcher. Like I do a lot of watching online and also, just observing people, observing, nature around me and stuff. So, for a good book, there's this book by Jordan Peterson that reading currently. What's the title again? Sorry, the title just skipped my head. A book I loved since I was a kid was Animal Farm.
Okay.
It was very, it engaged my mind a lot in terms of imagination of, animals coming together to work, and, also teaching real life experiences for humans and all of that. So that was a good one. In terms of music, listenings, I do some podcasts, but I do listen to more music than listen to podcasts and all that. I have quite a vast interest when it comes to music, from
Yeah.
jazz to rap to hip hop to local music, so I wouldn't know which to pick. Yeah, so that's it basically.
So the book you said, Jordan Peterson,
Yeah,
12 Rules
12
for
Rules for
Life?
Life. Yeah,
Yeah.
12 Rules for Life.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm on that, and I find it quite intriguing.
Okay. Okay. We'll share that in our show notes.
Yeah, okay.
Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Well, this has been very great getting to know you and understanding the mind behind all of these wonderful innovations and innovations that are to come, because we are looking and happy to support you in solutions and looking to see Pricepally coming to a city near us everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
because I really feel like, and just going back to my comment about climate change and farming, we do
Yeah.
need to streamline. And as you mentioned, hopefully with more people going directly to farmers, then we can influence policy in a way that creates the infrastructure that's necessary
Exactly.
for food security. Because I think that is,
Mm,
if food is 60% of a budget, that is a very insecure place. And there are so
yeah.
many things that can, in between you
Go
paying
wrong.
that much in the production, be addressed. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. And so
Thank you very much.
yeah, as we close, do you have any last words to share with our listeners?
Well, if you're African, solve a problem. There's too many problems here.
I like that.
Yeah, that would be my takes. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Please solve a problem, folks. Let's be
Yeah.
solvers. All right. Well, listeners, this has been another episode of the podcast. You can catch us each and every Tuesday with a new episode at www.glocalcitizenspod.com and wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can catch us. Please share, like, subscribe, tell a friend, post on your social media. And until next time, bye for now.